Hello, my name is Pat Cranley, and I'm the Distance Education Coordinator here at CRC, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Canvas. Today, we're going to talk about rubrics. Now, rubrics are a great tool to communicate to our students how they're being assessed and graded for all of their assignments. Let's jump into Canvas and see how it works. I've gone ahead and opened up a default Canvas shell, and to create a rubric, we simply need to travel down over here into the Outcomes section. Now, the landing page for this section is going to allow you to set up some student learning outcomes that are associated with your course. However, to create a rubric that will then be associated with an assignment, we need to go into the Manage Rubrics section way over here. Now, we've got to give our rubrics a good name and a good title, and we start the process of creating our rubrics by selecting this button right here. When you have multiple rubrics inside of your course, you can manage them and view them and edit them in a list. But since we don't have anything, this area is coming up blank. So let's go ahead and add our first rubric. For the context of this example, I think we're going to evaluate a student on a presentation that they'll give in class. So we'll do this, we'll just call this one presentation number 1. There we go. And now we need to go through the job of creating criteria that we're going to be using to assessing the outcome of this project. Now, so this is where it gets incredibly important because rubrics allow us to be transparent with our assessment criteria. We want to be clear. We want to be concise. We want our students to know directly how they're achieving the grade that they've been awarded for any specific assignment. So our criteria allow us to establish a whole series of evaluation metrics. Now, I've already gone ahead and created a simple little rubric. And this is what it's going to look like at the end of the day, a simple little matrix of rows and columns. We're going to mirror and duplicate this entire thing over in Canvas so that we can use it as part of our grading system. Each row is a criteria, and then all the columns give direct feedback to our student on how they were assessed for each one of our rows. Now, for the example of factual information, if a student did an exceptional job, this was the little bit of feedback that they would see. If they did a satisfactory job, this is the little bit of feedback or the method that I would be using to evaluate and assess this criteria, and so on and so forth. So I think I'm just going to start copying and pasting some of these since I already have it done, and we'll jump back over into Canvas and get this started. Okay, so under the criteria, I need to start editing each one of my criteria. The little pencil icons allow us to make some changes. So this is going to be factual information. And you can give it a very long description if there are specifics that you are going to expect your students to achieve. So let's update the criteria. And now the ratings, these are the rows. The default row or the default layout for the rubric section inside of Canvas is to only give you 2 rows. Well, I need 3. I want to have a row that's excellent, a row that's satisfactory, and then a row that shows areas for improvement. So I'm going to click on the little plus symbol in between these 2 rows to go ahead and get started. And now I have a third one. So it's automatically going to create the middle one for me. I know that. Let's just go ahead and copy and paste. This is the satisfactory area. So let's just grab this, quick copy, go back over into Canvas. This is the satisfactory, and we'll give it a description. The description is really important because this is the little bit of feedback that the student is going to see when they've earned points in this column. So I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other 2. And get rocking and rolling here. So 5 points. This is going to be excellent. And here's the feedback that the student will see when they receive an excellent mark for this criteria. And I'd continue building this out for the entire rubric. Each row is criteria, and all the columns are the marks for that criteria. Now I have one more in here. Let's give it a good name. And I'm not going to say no marks. I'm going to say needs improvement. And I'm going to copy that criteria from my spreadsheet. And we'll get it going. Okay. So one other little bit of factual information about creating rubrics are the points. The computer's going to take care of all the points for us, but we do need to ensure that each row in here, each column has an assigned point value. In the lower right-hand corner of the rubric, the computer is going to tally all the points that are available for our students to earn. So it's critical that we add all of this in. That way the students can see exactly how many points each one of these evaluation metrics is going to be. Now, of course, naturally, you can add more criteria by clicking on this button right here. Let's do new criteria. And this was going to be the use of visual aids. and then I don't have a description. But notice how it keeps that same row, okay? So let's add a third one in there. And you can mix and match. Not all of our criteria have to have 3 columns. It doesn't have to be a uniform grid. So if you only have 2 criteria, or excuse me, 2 assessment marks for 1 criteria, that's fine. You can mix and match. The most important thing is making sure that you have the points and the title there. That way the student really, really understands how they're earning points for this part of the assignment. Okay, so when we're done with this, now I have a whole lot of more work to do, but when we're done with this, we need to create the rubric. It's not going to save the rubric inside of Canvas until we hit this little button. Once we create the rubric, it looks as though nothing's really happened. However, if we return to the Outcomes section, check it out, now we're going to see under the Manage Rubrics section, yep, there we go. Now we'll be able to see the rubric that we just created. So there it is, presentation 1. So step number 1 is complete. Now we need to go in and associate or attach this rubric to an assignment. So let's jump over into our assignment section, and I'm simply going to create just a very, very basic assignment. There it is right there. So if I look at this assignment, there's nothing in here. It's just no content. I didn't do any editing to the body content of the assignment itself. Now, when we're associating a rubric with an assignment, we cannot be in the edit mode. We have to be viewing the assignment. So notice that I'm not going into edit, and here it is down here at the very bottom of this section. This is where we get to attach a rubric to our assignment. So let's go ahead and click on it. Now when you click on that button, it's going to go into a mode that will allow you to create a new rubric. So this is another method that you can utilize to create a rubric for an assignment, but I already have a rubric. I've already created one in the previous step. I want to attach that public speaking presentation rubric that I just created to the public speaking presentation assignment. And we do so by going into this Find Rubric button right here. Now, it's going to go into all the courses that are currently active for this term and put all those classes over here on the left. So you kind of need to know which course you're working in. I'm working in a course called Pat's Playground. And there it is. There's presentation 1. We're ready to go. That's the rubric that I want to attach with this assignment. Now, unfortunately, Canvas is cutting off, because of the size of this window, it's cutting off the most important button. Notice that I have 3 little scroll bars here, okay? We need to, on the outside one, I need to go all the way down, because there's the Use This Rubric button. So you can either make the window bigger by dragging in the left-hand bottom or the bottom right-hand corner, or just scroll down until you see Use This Rubric. Now, the moment that we hit this button, poof, there it is. It's attached that rubric to our assignment, and we're ready to go. If you notice over here, we can still edit, manage, and remove this rubric to the assignment whenever we'd like. As you can see, working with rubrics is a great tool, and it allows us to keep all of our students informed on the assessment criteria for their assignments. Thanks for watching another episode of This Week in Canvas. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email us at crc-de@crc.losrios.edu. And please, also feel free to contact the Canvas helpline. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.